So someone turned my Amish paradise into Obama's dream world. And I'm supposed to be cool with that? Must anybody be cool with that? Don't get me started on the Obamas, but it's what she said, Joan Rivers. But that's what she said. Get it? She broke the fall. Her assigned call was to soften the blow that after 1958, our new starting point date, the Flintstones opened the gate that we are going to have a gay time, a dab a do time, a jab will do time. Remember now, they had a good time, a Freemason good time, theosophic gay time, dirty laundry or unclean blood. That line gets hazy, lazy thought, leading to spirit cooking parties for people in power, money power, with GMO, genetically modified organism flour. It's supposed to read like money power with GMO flour that is, was, and will be until I am encompassed about. Billions of people are fed with fake flour that was only invented in 1910 on how they could do fertilizer. Why? Where was their fertilizer? They used up all the guano after Squanto taught them how to grow corn, so they say. The man who invented it invented the mustard gas, won the Nobel Prize. Mustard gas, this too must pass the test of why. God Most High knows why you are here to hear my Magnus Opus tonight, but welcome everybody to Mudflood was Armageddon and the rest of your life. Mudflood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. I got this information in one of those download type situations where the Lord works that way and has his way for this truth to come out. I'm going to be turning off my little camera here. Well, I don't know if I can, but I'm trying to, and I don't have a background. The internet's all sketchy and crazy. RJ's back is still out. Now, normally he'd be healed up and ready to go. So I think there's been a spiritual attack, and I think you might. Hey, I'm not trying to gaslight you or scare you, but it's possible. It's possible. Check this out. We'll look at the pictures first from the things we're going to cover that are going to be blowing us away, Magnus Opus style. Okay, I got that up. I am not going to take a chance of not sharing. Good. I'm sharing. Nope, that's not the one. That's how I make the thumbnail. It's only part of this picture. Hey, wait, come on, man. I thought I had these things pulled up. I'm going to do this. There it is. There's the whole thing. All right. It's all about, I don't know what ethemic guano. Guano is like bird poop, mostly bat, but it's used by fertilizer. And boy, did we need it. Huh. Now, how does Almy get, oh, we own this picture? Bullshit. No way. Hey, check that out. They don't own that picture. or a copy of that picture or anything else, but you got to play these games. But that's not the topic. Oh, look at this video here. The end of Haber-Bosch. This is from a recent video. Oh my goodness, it's so important to them because well, he's the Nazi, the German. I don't know if he, Bosch was led to IB Farben, Bosch tools, Bosch everything. These guys drew nitrogen from the air, and it was a miracle. And it says they feed billions. She's a groupie. She loves it. She's got a PhD in telling everybody that Haber-Bosch was good, but they were running out of fixed nitrogen. I mean, that point should stick home. They were running out of fixed nitrogen because they had used up all the guano. Oh, from the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Bing! The strategy of tension developed by and followed by the CIA since World War II and the Gladio was the use of false flag attacks to generate a political environment where governments could justify further security measures. It sounds like they could go mission accomplished on that one. I can't this is a good video. I can't recommend you studying this guy eyes wide open. It's pretty good. Maybe we'll look at some tonight. I'm so worried my internet, but I'm putting it in the Lord's hands. Haber's process for synthesizing ammonia, that's the Haber-Bosch process. There was no ammonia. Ammonia is common and everywhere now. They can make a process where they do this and that and the other thing, and they end up with 6% ammonium nitrate. We wouldn't even have those bombs, nitrates, big bombs anyway. It enabled the creation of what we'd like to call now special effects for movies. Explosives, boom, shaka, boom. Huber's in there. Our entire much praised technological progress and civilization generally could be compared to an axe in the hand of a pathological criminal. Yeah, but they gave him a Pulitzer Prize. Look at who's sitting in the middle. Who's sitting in the middle? Is it Einstein sitting in the middle? No. I can make ammonia. The manual states we do not propose to the people either a new religion or a new worship. Our religion is the universal religion. We can trace back our worship to the first ages of the world. Oh, that's what Thomas Paine and Robespierre, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, and the other deists believed in civic virtue. Theophilanthropes. Oh, if I didn't see this word until this morning, come on, most of you have not either, or you didn't bother to go crazy on it. Like nobody can what is that they call that? Nobody can OCD a word like me. Hey, that's not even a nice thing to say about me. I guess I can forgive myself according to them. That's not the point. In the late 18th century, that's the 1700s for people like me and you, Beau Brummel, you've heard of him. He, dictates on fashion and etiquette. I'm talking about especially the French bohemians who closely imitated his manner of dress and style in that time of political progress. The French dandies. Yeah, we're going to be getting to the I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, blah, 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 blah. Social revolutionaries, that's who those dandies were, who were self-created men possessed of a consciously designed personality. How do you do that? I'm going to consciously design Do you do it to yourself, or do you say like, I am going to make, there was the failed attempt where we could have had an accent like Judy, Judy, Judy. That's a Cary Grant doing an imitation of something he never really said because that's how they do it. Uh, they just throw out, our English accents, and we've kind of settled on the Midwest news. Men whose way of being broke with inflexible tradition. Men whose way of being broke, that means they're just set apart. They don't care about the old tradition, that what Wikipedia calls an inflexible tradition. So those men were not down with that because that limited the social progress of greater French society. Thus, with their elaborate dress and decadent styles of life, the French dandies conveyed that their lifestyle is better. And like us, and we're sitting around with our heads spinning, going like, how did we lose this culture war? How has it been 50 years that children have been born in this country and they think abortion was a constitutionally protected right? We lost the culture war, and we're spinning around going like, what? We don't even know what their idea of beauty is if they're, because I mean, if they're saying everything is beautiful in its own, what is beauty? Who's the eye of the beholder? Come on, wise up, stop it. Stop it, man. Please. Did I show all these? These were so cool because I really thought I have some that I haven't seen yet. I wonder if I accidentally downloaded them to the Sergio, there's a link in there, brother. If you wanna hop on, I think that was so cool, that one video. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show it right now because it's gonna be so serious. You were there, Hey, un momento, because this takes a second, but only a second, as I do this thing called duplicate. It comes up on that. I'll pause it instantly, go to my history, and it was so funny. I watched it again. And in the comment, I said it was better than gold because it is. Hey, oh yeah, check it out. This is great.
Are you breaking up with me?
Thou hast verily spake.
I don't understand. Like, I literally don't understand the words that you're saying.
Thy love is better than wine, and yet
trying to play me with the ESV.
The ESV?
I does not only KJV, trying to play me with the CSV.
This dude is breaking up with his wife because you don't like the King James Version, man. And I've met people that kind of are like this. So just giving you the gist, you don't get it. You don't get it, and I don't get it.
Are you breaking up with me?
Thou hast verily spake.
I don't understand. Like, I literally don't understand the words that you're saying.
Thy love is better than wine, and yet
trying to play me with the ESV.
The ESV?
I does not only KJV, trying to play me with the CSB.
That's a good translation.
Methinks not only KJV, trying to play it in ASB. I does not need a KJB, I'm only KJV. Henceforth readeth KJV, or thwarteth or plans to lay with me, I'm only KJV.
But we have the exact same theology.
They're only engaged. That's why she said I'm breaking up. Thou thwartest it. They'll thwart us all plans to lay with me. They're gonna get married, but not now.
With me, I'm only KJV.
But we have the exact same theology.
I'm only KJV.
But you just started reading the King James like a week ago.
I'm only KJV. Low time for my next chick to wet this. She was not my text is receptive. Thou art fair, hast thou size and pleasant. With me thinks thou dost much protested.
Okay, baby. I have a solution. Why don't we just read the new King James Version?
Go thy way. Thy hair's a flock of goats, yet go thy way. Meseems thou shouldest go thy way. Go thy way. Thy hair's a flock of goats, yet go thy way. seems thou shouldest go thy way.
Okay, fine. But you still think I'm saved though, right?
Methinks not, only KJV.
Oh, I think you're in a cult.
I'm only KJV. I'm only KJV.
Her neck was like a ivory tower. Her hair like flock of goats. I'm only KJV. Guano. So the Lord says to me today, in that way of like not talking and just thinking like, type in guano. And it's not like, I don't want to. And they're like, oh man, GUANO. I got it on the first try. That's a big deal for me. Wow, guano's golden age. The guano. The guano. Guano. Prussian geographer. Remember, we just talked about this guy, Alexander von Humboldt. Humbug. I did everything. Nobody did more than this guy. Polymath, geographer, naturalist, explorer, proponent of romantic philosophy, like the Lone Ranger. He was the younger brother of a Prussian minister. He gets around. First encountered guano and been investigating its fertilizing properties. So from 1802, and I'm going with the 1711 date for Satan being loosed. Freemasons right there waiting, rolling out this, that, boom, bapa. Hey, how can we make money? Well, we can get all the guano in the world. So they did. Europeans knew about it. Fertilizing properties. Guano was not widely used before the Cornish. Humphrey did it. Delivered a series of lectures about, hey, this would be cool, called the Elements of Agricultural Chemistry. We talk so much about agriculture. I mean, architecture. Commercial whaling, that should be next on our hit list. They used oil from mammals' brains. It wasn't the blubber that they were after. That's some insanity there. Head tax. This export of guano from Peru to Europe suggested as the vehicle that brought virulent strains of potato blight from the Andean highlands that began the great. This was, it helps right now. We would not be able to feed the billions of people with the processed food and really have the walking dead among us. I just really call them the walking dead. Let's look at the pictures. There's a man-made guano island. Okay. So, important producer of guano, bats. There you go. Raw bat guano. They poop bones and stuff. That's a microscope there. Tiny insect ectoskeletons. But look at that picture of that whole island. Everybody's there like, quick. And this is what I'm saying. Are we in the real world or is wherever they did their 1,000-year thing of whatever was happening? Are we sure that, we're not, that they didn't pick up, we didn't pick up recently when Satan got loosed in 1711 with, just like, well, here's your ship, here's your people, here's your history. Those are your buildings. Something weird was going on. We had enough to last us 1,000 years. And then they ran out. And so they could have gone a lot of different ways. They went with the way. Now, here's the problem. 6% of it turns into ammonia that they can use for their fertilizer. They spray it all on the field, and most of it ends up, they know it pollutes the water. They know it's killing and has been killing. It's helping the earth wax old like a garment. And when they ran out and started having to do this Herber Bosch bird sanctuaries. Yikes, look at that. Gonna fly now, pooping high now. Dun, 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 yeah. Hey, are there any? I want some guano. Oh, man, we don't got no guano where I live. That's crazy. What do you got to do with guano? See a little fish with no eyeballs in there? You got no, like, I like to eat guano too. That's all we get on guano. But what changed is this kind of cancel culture that has historically been on the left. We're seeing more and more on the right where people are shouting, not letting you give your speech. And I just felt like I couldn't ignore it. What's he talking about? I'm doing something Magnus Opus here, dude. Who is this guy? All right, look, they're all in on it. We got to just give it up. They're all in on it. We're to love one another. We're not to kill one another. And they're both Democrats, Republicans. They're in on it. You know that seems like a waste of time now. So anyway, they had these guano things, and here comes your Yankees. Village life fostered local democracy, best exemplified by the open town meeting form of government that still exists today. Oh, really? But maybe sometime they did when they were using poop. And Yankeeism, I think we read a couple of those screenshots. The general character of the Union, Yankee manners are as migratory as the Yankee men. The latter are found everywhere, and the former prevail wherever the latter are found. Yankee men. Although the genuine Yankee belongs to New England, the term Yankee is now appropriate to the natives of the Union at large. Huh. Friedman. Okay. Back to Boston. This is just the term for Yankee, a very confusing thing. We won't stick on it too long. Outside the United States, Yank is used informally to refer to an American person or thing. It's especially popular in the UK. Okay, you honkies heard about it. And people who live in honky countries, emphasizing the Christian Puritan beliefs and traditions of Calvinists. Okay. Something to look into. We don't got time today. What about Yankee Doodle Dandy? Yankee Doodle Dandy was a movie that set in the early days of World War II. George M. Cohan comes out of retirement to star as President Roosevelt in the Rodgers and Hart musical, I'd Rather Be Right. On the show's first night, he is summoned to the White House. That's what this music is about. And he's going to get a Congressional Gold Medal. He talks on him. He's been performing vaudeville, something that was designed so that everybody, everywhere, as the same vaudevillians traveled the world in those circuits, going to all the kit towns, kits. They were bought in kits from catalogs, set up to wherever they had the old world buildings. Everybody learned the same songs. Everybody heard the same accents. Vaudeville was very important, as were when the new movies. So they used the same people like they do today, or their descendants. The four Cohans made this movie. It introduced, the singing, dancing of James Cagney, and I guess he won Oscars and everything else. Yankee Doodle Dandy. So all of the sudden, you know, here's your propaganda. And this is, they've been in the Great Depression since 1929. Uh, Allegedly, the work programs and everything of the first 100 days of confiscating gold in 1933, things are going to work out, but they needed this war. And he's a Yankee Doodle boy. You arrive in a horse and carriage. Okay. All right. So tie it all together. It's all right there. Yankee Doodle, we're going to get back to the nitrogen. Don't you worry about that. Traditional, new, all these songs, you think they're all even set to the same tune, I guess. Same tune going back to what they call the 1400s in Holland. Let's hear it. Called it macaroni. Macaroni wig. Extreme fashion in the 1770s became slang for being a fop or a dandy.
On a night went down to camp along with Captain Good, and there we saw the men and boys as thick as 60 could. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee.
I'm just saying, this could be a gay song for all I know. He saw the boys, keep it up. I'm just saying, if I was one of them, something's going on here. What? You dandy? They called it macaroni. It's not, I know what you think of it's not what I thought of macaroni, but they don't care. They just don't care. So the dandies go back to, the little monster and musk-wearing Muscadin ruffians of the middle class who said, look at me, those other guys may be more rich, but if I dress like them and can beat the you-know-what out of them, maybe you want me. And I think they kind of got it, man. And they emerged stratified societies. This is after the golden age of Christ. After he was loosed in some crazy world that we live in. It's like, where do these buildings come from and everything else? And how are we going to feed these new billions of people that, even though they're, it seems like they're, if we made if we went from half of or 500 million, what they say in 1700 to 8 billion now, why aren't we at 800 trillion with Neanderthals and Denisovians running around? Hey, it's very cynicism, Anyway, these dandies like to dress up like dandies and Yankee Doodle. British dandyism. There's that Beau Brummel again. I can dress like this and you should dress like this or talk like that and you can be successful. You can see those pictures. Lord Byron, the gay raper of 15-year-old girls, one of them became famous because she married him for a short time. That she wrote the book about the Frankenstein. Yeah, and he wrote the book about the Dracula. And these weirdos were the people that they prop up and go, this is the greatest book you could ever read. And there's so much to it. We should study it for life. Okay, whatever. Yay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Dandy. the Theomidorian reaction. What is that? That's the ousting of Robespierre on a specific date in their calendar. Well, we would call it July 27th, 1794. They call it the 9th of Thermidor, year 2. They tried to start the Renaissance. France tried to start a revolution, say it's year 2. We got a new calendar. We're going on 10-day weeks, baby. Named after the month in which the coup took place. Because general population at the time was demanding the de-Christianization. They just had enough of it, man. So, I think we covered this the other day. You recognize him. You say you want a revolution. Well, if you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, whoa, this is where it led. Because how are we going to feed all these people that need genetically modified food? Bang! Virtue was not found there. So I just wanted to introduce and remind you that, it all goes back to these people. Don't tell me it didn't have anything to do with our 1776 revolution. It was the same people. We taught them how to do this. This is all the same plan. Refers to the coup, 1794, in which the Committee of Public Safety, led by the guy we just saw getting shot, was sidelined, its leaders arrested and guillotined, resulting in the end of the Reign of Terror. If you've never studied that, that's where it's like, hey, let's see if let's set the record at 3,000 guillotines in one day. New regime known as the Directory, which led to this nonsense of Napoleon. This is all such a fake rewrite. The revolution betrayed refers to the rise of Joseph Stalin. It's all tied into the same arguments we're having today, where people are going like, I'm not going to vote of anybody that even smells like communist. Who would blame them if you're going to go into voting? I mean, well, I guess the people that are going to vote the other way, which is like 50-50, had different calendars. There's your takeaway. You still sharing? Looks like it. The French Directory, who were they? 5 people. 5 people, that when they started year 2, they're going to stick with their dates that we know here. It was when finally overthrown by the fake Napoleon, whatever that was, replaced by the consulate directory. Do we have time to go through all of these guys? Going back to honky, 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 honk, honk. Going to run the world. Jacobean Reign of Terror. And if you're like, let's say you're like me or you, a regular honky that is just like, I'm not down with killing everybody. Guess what? Guillotine, you communist. It seems like that's just the way it happened. And at that time, what are they going to do? I guess they had the power, the money to say, we're in charge. They can, and with what's coming here, what did I say? They call it, they got the name for it. Martial law. And that's where they suspend the Constitution until peace is achieved. That's pretty open. Open, right? Open-ended. Who's to decide? Yeah, well, it's been kind of peaceful, but do we really know? There's a lot there. Hope you guys had your pistols out, because we don't have time to go over all these things. I'm just saying this maybe what the Lord showed me this morning, then I had to go about my day, knowing I got a Magnus Opus, because where are the things about the nitrogen? I guess we got to wait a little while. Wow, you're going to like it, though. Council of 500 now, okay. Still like 0.5% get to vote. So not only women go like, we couldn't vote. Nobody could vote. I don't care how white of a man you were. If you were like 99.5% of the rest of them, you did not vote. Sorry, women, it was a equal discrimination. Sad, but true. Hey, there they go. That doesn't look like 500 to me. Another fake I'm betting. Oh, man. I mentioned this so long ago. Theophilanthropy. Philanthropist, Friends of God and Man were a deistic sect formed in France during the latter part of the French Revolution. That would have been when Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin were over there helping them, saying, here's how we did our revolution. And people think it's cool. Wait until we get GMO food because we run out of guano. In the meantime, theophilanthropism is one of those derisive institutions which pretends to bring to God those very people whom they drive away from him by separating them from Christianity. Abhorred by Christians, it is spurned by philosophers who, though they may not feel the need of a religion for themselves, still want the people to cling to the faith of their fathers. That's what this Pope said then. And I think they still use that some places today. They said it held the middle position between the severity of Stoicism. If you want to know about Stoics, you can read about them in the Bible in Acts chapter 17, roll down to about verse 10, and you'll get a speech where Paul introduced them. You Stoics, you're trying so hard, you're doing it well. Here's your unknown God. He was talking to the Stoics and the Epicureans and the laxity of the Epicureans, who basically they're like good hedonists. They're not the ones that are like, I'm going to eat myself to death this weekend. They're the ones that are going to be like, I'm going to do whatever I can to enjoy everything good for the rest of my life because pleasure is all that matters. Its basic principle was good. Good is all that tends to preserve and perfect the man. Evil is all that tends to destroy or impair him. It is in light of that axiom and not of the Christian standard, in spite of the phraseology, that we should view the commandments concerning the adoration of God. Okay, that doesn't cut it for me. Somebody took away my Amish paradise and replaced it with this bullshit. David Williams. This morning seemed like a long time ago. Welsh. This was what struck out at me. There would have been no Enlightenment period. They would have had nobody to say, whoa, 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 rally around me and I'll explain the French Enlightened to you. But David Williams was from Wales, Welsh. Okay. Brought up, converted to Methodism, got around, ordained in 1758 to the charge of the dissenting congregation. He did something. He whatever he did, he helped these people in the Revolution of France. A novel application of the drunken Helot plan. I know you thought that was a drunken Horlot plan, but no, that was dealt with obtaining from a workhouse a living boy as an object lesson. Huh. What? Okay. Wow. So anyway, this guy really did. So get your pencil out, write down David Williams. You can study. I mean, there would have been no French Revolution. They adopted him. They brought him in. He taught them and taught them how to be a dandy too. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know about that part, but anyway, he's in the notes. in the Magnus Opus. It's so important, and it'll be here. It'll be here. I'm making an object lesson on how you get it done if you want to work to please the Lord. No, what's this? Oh, it's only one page? Well, let's look at it. So here's what this guy, David Williams, was teaching the French. Religion and morality as they have been delivered in Margaret Street, Cavendish Square, going back to our revolution. This is David Williams. These lectures are what were read in the author's first engagements in the plan of public worship, which he still pursues, from which all disputable doctrines are excluded, and where these moral truths alone, which are acknowledged by all the world, are recognized and enforced. This plan has ever been considered as impractical and dangerous in best societies which have yet been formed. So they, no doubt, a pretty high opinion of themselves. Philosophers have wished to substitute it for the various and contradictory systems of unofficial and barbarous superstitions. The one man, even among kings, has had intelligence and humanity enough to see that by introducing it, he might pull up by the root most of those noisome weeds which diminish the prosperity and happiness of the people. That sounds like Margaret Sanger. We got to get rid of the human weeds. Continuing, but hazardous and inconveniencies operating on the passions of fear and selfishness and the love of virtue, which in modern times is only a reflected passion operating on the fancy and producing only poetic and sentimental zeal. The attempt has never been made. All right, I showed my little 4 hours.
They're curious documents. One of the pillars, this one, was hollow. Inside.
So this one was hollow. I'm getting some said I got some disruptions. Did you see that one was hollow? This guy found in a hollow thing something very important. I wonder if I'm still sharing. Hey, did we get cut out? Hey, Luther, what's happening, man? The truther is, you know him as Yaswil Soring. He's an expert on all of this type of theology and stuff. So is Marcella. Okay, that was good. I'm glad that
parchments, passages from the Gospels in Latin. The first link in a chain of discovery which led to wealth and luxury for this
chain of discovery which led to
endless
wealth,
speculation and investigation for those who have since then stumbled onto the mystery. They're curious documents, the one oddly arranged on the page, the other dotted with scores of interpolated letters. Sonia soon realized
I had to sit through that just to be convinced that they really do believe that these guys found these letters and he became rich, and that's how this whole Mudflood capital, came into being, because it's kind of like a nice town. I think I looked it up. Boy, is my internet slow. Heavenly Father, please, we're just trying to keep it up here on the, I left up the pages. So I thought I'd look it up in French instead of English. So here's what they said. Because it just seemed better. So here it is. He built all of this with the money that he made because he found a hollow chamber. He lived a life of poverty. And then he found some papers that are later proved that he, forged, and then he was an independent Catholic. And so that's how they explained this area. And he just made all kinds of money. And this is all new from, of course, the 1900s. This isn't it's not a Mudflood conspiracy. That's just you. You think, and he built this too, because he got all this money because of some fake papers, and that's their history. Oh, this was there too. He decided to hire somebody. Hey, make this for me. And this is, the portrait of the devil in the church. He's like holding up the baptistry or something. So anyway, it's a Mudflood town. He built all of this stuff. They couldn't figure out, wow, how are you getting all this money? So they had to explain it. And they made up a whole story about it to explain the town, They must have left this one out the loop, and they had to come up to it. Now, hey, look, there's Francois Mitterrand. He's taking a tour, going like, so that's the devil holding up where people walk in and get their water to bless themselves. Okay. And it kind of looks like it's wood. Everything else is marble, but what were they thinking? They were thinking, did he ever say something about GMOs and stuff? So this is the guy, just to prove that, he wasn't allowed to say mass because he was independent, but he did anyway. So, he was supposed to say, granted to say 2 or 3 on Sundays. Anyway, he was charging 1 franc per mass, and sometimes clients would request 1,000. He wouldn't do it. And that's how he got all the money. Is like, and then they TV series about him, and somehow it led, it's all a part of their history now. Okay, the GMO thing, and Haber-Bosch.
Nitrogen, but there was a genuine concern that the world was going to starve.
Plants need a ton of nitrogen to grow, and in the early 1900s, people were worried that we didn't have enough nitrogen-containing fertilizer to grow all the crops that we needed to feed the very quickly growing global population.
And the great thing about nitrogen is we have an endless supply of it, because it makes up about 80% of the air that we breathe.
Right.
Except when nitrogen is in the air, it is 2 nitrogen atoms triply bonded together,
Right.
And these are stuck. And they're also really inert. They won't react with anything.
Nitrogen in the air is N2, and most plants...
All right, now you're getting to the part of where it's like, even myself who's interested in this stuff are going like, you guys are so boring.
For the Haber-Bosch process for a long time. Turns out it's not easy. N2 is one of the most stable, unreactive molecules out there. So, ripping these 2 nitrogens apart.
You got to rip them apart if you're going to make nitrogen. You got to do it with the pressure. You got to do it with the steam. Got to do it with the chemicals. And your best bet is to get 6%. The rest washes into the water and is killing us and the animals and everything else. But they don't care. So is the food we eat, the air we breathe. Somehow they want you to be a walking dead until you're actually dead.
And sticking 6 hydrogens in here.
Right, it's hard.
So here's how we think the overall process works. This is just step 1. This one is harder. A bis trifluoromethyl sulfonyl amide electrolyte. And by using this new electrolyte, their yield went...
Okay, and so those farmers, you know, they figured it out. They got it all going. So I looked up the guano, you know, and I had, you know, all of this other good stuff, and I was even going to get into these things here. I think what I need to do is I'll say hello, and then I'm going to go back in my history and get that video that talks about, you know, the problem is when I'm going to have to show this one video, don't get hung up on, you know, it's hard. I know it's hard. Some of you men, you see somebody and you go like, I like her voice. I like, you know, this or that or the other thing. And you quit paying attention to it. Maybe I should just go with, yeah, I should show that one. Now I have to find it. I know I want to show this one too. So I'll open that one up. We saw the food controlled by the mafia. Where's the new thing? Give me 1 second. If it might be the one I pulled up and said, we'll watch that too. Oh, no, here we go. Glad you waited. I know I'm not sharing, but now I am.
Fritz Haber made food from the air. He invented a process that takes nitrogen from the air and turns it into fertilizer. This revolutionized agriculture and fed billions of people who otherwise might have starved. He became a hero in his native...
Yeah, this is the guy who did it at Hoover. He fed billions. We're those billions right now. We wouldn't do it, but he also, oh, he's this guy.
To the development of the devastating use of gas.
And I know a lot of you, you know, she brings it down to it was 1 million that, you know, something happened, you know. So anyway, explain to us how it works.
But not on Fritz, who was a
we're
reminder
still
of the
talking
pain
about
of
Fritz.
losing his first wife. After Fritz graduated from an elite school and celebrated with friends in a pub till the wee hours of the morning.
Okay, so this kind of gets it back, like where his dad was not nice to him, and he went to the schools and he did this and that.
His concern on the bread eaters of the whole world, the quote, great Caucasian race. He predicted that the world would face famine within decades, unless a new source of nitrogen for agricultural fertilizers could be found.
Because they had used up all the guano, the spirit was, putting on my heart. It's like, this ties into everything. Now we know how we don't need to worry. We can mess up the whole world, use up all of the other guano of it seems so clear to me that had to be from the 1,000 years. And so what are we going to do to poison the masses, the billions that are going to be the walking dead that end up encompassing me and my friends about?
Nitrogen is a vital nutrient for plant growth. Scientists relied on limited natural sources of nitrogen to fertilize soil, such as animal manure, bird and bat droppings, or sodium nitrate from Chilean mines. But these resources are limited. Nitrogen is abundant in the atmosphere. 78% of the air is made up of nitrogen. However, in the way that humans can't drink salt water, plants can't use nitrogen directly from the air as a source of nutrition because of its strong triple bond that makes it difficult for plants to digest. It must be converted into a more useful form. Haber discovered that hydrogen breaks the strong triple bond of nitrogen and converts it to ammonia, or NH3, reaction between nitrogen and hydrogen. They combine to produce ammonia with a yield of around 6%.
That was enough to turn him into a millionaire, change the world, feed the world. And if you've heard of ammonia, you smelled ammonia. powerful smell. It's not a high percentage, but it still was enough to, you know, because they could develop new strains of food that would accept the needed nitrogen because the whole world couldn't feed itself until this guy.
Haber had discovered a process akin to turning lead into gold. It would make him fabulously rich. BASF agreed to pay him 1.5 Pfennig, the German cent, in royalties for each kilo of ammonia produced, which added up to a significant sum as the large-scale production of ammonia followed. A chemist and engineer at BASF, Karl Bosch, was responsible for...
All right, now, boom. So here we have this guy inventing it, hooking up with Karl Bosch. IB Farben much? The United States took over RB Farben after World War II. It's ours now. We brought over their scientists, their rocketeers, their bankers. This was a merger, and if you can't see it, you're not going to see it.
For scaling up and commercializing the production of ammonia. The process of synthesizing ammonia is known worldwide as the Haber-Bosch process. Today, an estimated 150 million metric tons of nitrogen is extracted from the air.
Why are they so excited in that other one of like, can we finally replace this Haber-Bosch? We've got to do something. Well, because it started out as a miracle, because, you know, the earth can take a lot before it's poisoned. About 100 years or more now. But it didn't, you know, it doesn't go on forever, and everything flows downstream.
Annually transformed into ammonia and distributed as nourishing fertilizer for crops. There are long-term environmental concerns to consider.
Oh, don't you tell this audience that. Most of them are conservative, and if you even hint that this is that humans did anything wrong, they will turn on you, call you an Obama lover.
From these fertilizers can find their way into water systems, harming water quality and the surrounding ecosystems. But without the Haber-Bosch process, it's likely that billions of people
who are going to die
that had great ambition. Haber was determined to support his country in World War I, unlike Albert Einstein.
Where would we be without this small cadre of people that all knew each other, so we can read their letters and go, oh, here's our train of thought that led to these men who walk, don't run, even because you're going to need your energy to fight if you get there. And so they walked, didn't run until they met their death.
Who was horrified that his fellow scientists
she does, you know, she's a Glover and she's propping them up.
Einstein, the pacifist, put it this way: our entire much praised technological progress and civilization generally could be compared to an axe in the hand of a pathological criminal.
And we went over the anhydrous ammonia nitrate fertilizer bombs that were used in the Oklahoma bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal building. You know, those things wouldn't have existed without nitrates, fertilizer, mustard gas, nerve gas, biological weapons.
Germany could fight on, despite British warships blocking nitrate supplies from South America. But explosives would not be Haber's greatest contribution to his country's war effort.
I thought he hadn't developed the nitrogen yet. I think he was still doing weapons at this time.
Haber suggested to German military leaders that they use chlorine gas as a weapon. German high command was willing to try anything to break the stalemate on the Western Front. On April 22, 1915, German troops stationed in Ypres.
That has to be a special date too, because I will never, unless I'm forced to, somebody has a gun at my head, watch somebody die of chlorine poisoning, because I've read about it. And I wish I could not read about it. I wish they had those same warnings on the movies and things that, like, don't watch this one. It's horrifying.
Belgium released 5,000 tanks containing chlorine gas, which drifted across the battlefield to Allied positions. A British officer described the horror of seeing French colonial soldiers with gray faces and protruding eyeballs clutching their throats and choking as they ran, many of them dropping in their tracks and lying on the sodden earth with limbs convulsed and features distorted in death. Soldiers panicked and abandoned their positions, creating
Who
a
cares?
formal
They're dead people dying for, don't you blame them for running?
night. His wife shot herself with his army
She said,
pistol.
what are you doing, you crazy man? I can't believe you did this. So then he said, hey, my wife's dead. She didn't like the chlorine gas. I think I'll do mustard gas. It's worse. They go through the propaganda about the history of the war that's all fake.
Chest. Although he won the Nobel Prize, his legacy is forever tarnished.
Daddy Warbucks. Daddy Warbucks.
Haber failed to realize that his nation would use his chemical weapon against innocent civilians.
Huh. And he failed to realize that other people can do it too. It kind of led to the stab in the back theory that, what's going on? Hitler's Nazi party capitalized on the widespread unemployment, poverty, and unrest to fuel
Employment, poverty, and unrest to fuel its rise to power. Despite his contributions to his beloved Germany, Haber realized he would soon become
what can I do? I better get to work so I can ingratiate myself so that when Adolf Hitler looks at me, he'll think, I should love that man.
than anyone else. Einstein, who had been traveling when the Nazis came to power and declared he wouldn't return to Germany, put it this way in a letter to Haber. I can imagine your inner conflicts. It is somewhat like having to abandon a theory on which you have worked your whole life. It's not the same for me, as I never believed in it in the least. Einstein put it more delicately in a letter to Haber's son after Haber's death. It was the tragedy of the German Jew, the tragedy of unrequited love.
Oh, come on.
Haber
You're
tried
gonna
his
make me
entire
throw
life
up.
to be the perfect German. Despite his religious conversion, despite one of the greatest scientific discoveries of all time, despite his attempt to save his country, the only thing that mattered, in the end, was that he was Jewish.
Okay, so now, he was the president of this school. It was the Max Kaiser Institute. Let's see what other people have to say about this process.
Most famous discovery, that magnetism and electricity were linked. Without this understanding, many of the technologies we rely on would not exist. Before we delve into his groundbreaking discovery, Maxwell's scientific career had begun long before, at the age of 14, when he published his first academic paper. It described an unusual way of drawing geometric curves
Is this Max Planck?
But when he was 8, she died of abdominal cancer, the same disease that would take his own life. A private tutor didn't work out either. He reportedly beat Maxwell and chided him for being slow.
Nice tutor. So anyway, this all ties in. Let's just check it out here. Oh,
His
that's
math
the
tutor
same
at
place.
Cambridge, William Hopkins, is reported to have said that Maxwell was the most extraordinary man he had ever met. When Maxwell later applied for a teaching position at Marischal College in Aberdeen, Scotland, to be closer to his father whose health was deteriorating, Hopkins wrote this glowing reference letter. His mind is...
So this basically is just, whenever you need a remarkable discovery, they're always going to have their guy there. And whether it's to feed billions or poison the earth or to teach you how to make TV and how we see colors, everyone has an agenda. I do.
Red, green, and blue. By superimposing the images together, the full color image could be reconstructed. His colleague, Thomas Sutton, applied this method to create the world's...
The tartan ribbon. It's just crazy. I just want everything to wash over you.
Maxwell's biographer and friend described their marriage as one of unexampled devotion. His years in London were his most productive.
That's kind of like different than Daddy Warbucks. And they always got to keep throwing the same explanations. Do you
reference
believe
frame,
this about
which
light?
Maxwell's equations helped establish.
For example, if I threw this ball toward you at 20 miles an hour, if you were running toward me, the ball would appear to approach you more quickly. And if you were to run away from me,
So they take child thoughts and get you to go, yeah, okay. And then they tell you some made up equation that no one understands and they act like they got it. And you go, okay, I'm out.
He even had a portrait of Maxwell hanging in his office.
And remember, Einstein was in on this other guy, same places. These guys all went to school together. And everything we know, everything we learn is based on trusting. These were the minds that developed the atomic bomb that could end the world with the mutual mass destruction. So be afraid, be very afraid. But fear?
Academia.
Yeah.
His work was largely foundational. He helped plant the seed for future discoveries.
Fear academia. I'm here in academia world because it's, I've been studying these guys long enough and it's about time they paid me to go to college to expose them. So I took the chance and I said, I'll take that scholarship.
Lifetime. But over time, he has been increasingly recognized and celebrated. There's a
Maxwell's equations. Anyway, we have covered a lot in only an hour. It's been broken open. The Magnus Opus with copious proofs for us, not getting lost in the forest by the trees. Tricky. It's tricky. You get that? My Magnus Flood Opus with copious proofs for us. Hey, you were young once too. Anyway, that's it. So you can have people out there in the Mudflood world that are going to be saying, like, don't do mushrooms. I'm going to be saying, do them responsibly if you do them at all. But to say that they're evil and that demons appear, people like myself have been doing them since the 70s, every decade. And we never see demons until now. All of a sudden, since Joe Rogan and oh my gosh, DMT, and all of a sudden, with everybody else, I see demons. I see me. Oh, and you smoke marijuana. You smoke cigarettes. Tobacco is a sacred herb, and it's never caused cancer. You need more oxygen in your blood. I'm not a doctor. A lot of doctors won't say that, but I'm pretty sure cancer can't live in my blood. I'm pretty sure, study the Bible, you'll realize that if you want to keep it real and in order and true, Jesus is God. The Mudflood was Armageddon. The golden age is past, and that's why me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. We know we are one called, two chosen, three faithful. So we don't get our name blotted out of the book of life. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Magamen. Adios.